Hello everybody, I'm Matt and it's spooky season. Yes, it's October, which means horror movies. In this video, I'm going to give you 31 horror movies and some TV shows that you can watch during the spooky season. I'm not going to go into full detail on each of these films, just kind of give you a rundown of what they are and hopefully it'll urge you to go and check these out in your own time. So grab a drink, take a seat, get cozy, and get ready for 31 days of Halloween. Let's kick things off with a classic, John Carpenter's 1978 film Halloween. Not much to be said about this one that hasn't already been said, it's just all atmosphere as Michael Myers stalks Laurie Strode and her friends on Halloween day and night. It's light on the kills, but the build up to the awesome final act will definitely get you in the mood for the spooky season.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
The world is not made of atoms. It is made of stories.
The Mortuary Collection is the first of a few anthologies on this list, and the movie follows a young woman going for a job interview at a creepy mortuary run by Clancy Brown, who plans on scaring the young woman to death. What follows are several spooky stories with surprisingly great gore, kills, and a cast starring the likes of Jacob Elordi, Emma Horvath, and Caitlin Custer. I found this one night while me and my girlfriend were just trolling through Shudder, and it turned out to be a surprisingly great time, a great little gem hidden amongst all of the stuff on Shudder.
It's perfectly natural.
Natural? Are you kidding me? In what world is this natural?
Bring Her Back is one of the few recent releases on this list, and it's an Australian horror film about an orphaned brother and sister who are fostered by a woman with a dark and terrifying secret. Do yourself a favour and go into this one without seeing any of the trailers or clips or anything. It's a wild ride and one that actually gets surprisingly depressing in some places.
Supposed to report how safe and reliable you are. So stay safe, stay reliable, yeah?
Malignant is one of James Wan's most recent films, and he's pretty hit or miss for me when it comes to horror, but holy crap is this my jam. I didn't know anything about this film when I saw it pop up on Netflix one day, and I'm so glad that I didn't find the twist out, because the twist in this film is just fucking bonkers, and that along with the Italian giallo references and plot make this one of my favorites. So now we're venturing into insane Taiwanese horror films with the sadness, and boy does it get crazy. It follows a young couple trying to reunite during a viral outbreak that turns people into homicidal maniacs. It's a very similar premise to the comic series Crossed, although this isn't trying to be edgy try-hard trash like the comic is. Truly some great intense moments throughout and some really fucked imagery as well. Definitely not for the weak of stomach or for people who want a happy ending. Dead Heat is one of the few horror comedies on this list, and you gotta have a horror comedy around the spooky season as well, and this one's a great one that I'm sure not a lot of people know about. Think Lethal Weapon meets Return of the Living Dead, as two cops played by Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams get embroiled with a shadowy company run by Vincent Price that brings dead criminals back to life and makes them go and commit crimes. Some great awesome practical effects and awesome action sequences as well, and it's just a really fun movie.
Hey, you're hurt. Lady, I'm fucking dead.
Prom Queen is the newest addition to the Fear Street saga that ditches the ghost witches of the previous 3 installments for a more traditional slasher film. Many didn't really vibe with it, and I understand why, but I really love the aesthetic it's going for and has some really fun kills. It has a very obvious ending and the killer is very obvious as well, but I had a really good time with the setting and the violence. Also, any movie that opens with a montage set to Power Glove gets an extra point from me.
Gotcha.
The Hell House saga recently ended with Hell House Lineage, but the first film in the series is still the best. It's a found footage film that finds a documentary crew investigating an old haunted house where 15 people were killed during a Halloween event. I don't scare easy, but this film had so many just oh fuck moments scattered throughout, all in the background of scenes happening. And of course, spooky clowns wandering around in the dark is also very just scary in itself, and it all leads to a very fun time, and you can definitely follow it up with the sequels, but I think you could just leave it with just this one film and that be it.
Whoa, shit, dude. What's up, man? What are you looking at? Holy fuck!
Return of the Living Dead is one of my favourite films, and it's another 80s classic from the mind of Dan O'Bannon and John Russo. Secret military gas is accidentally released over Louisville, Kentucky, and reanimates the corpses of a nearby cemetery into zombies. Gore, scares, and hilarity ensues, and one of my favourite zombie films was Reanimated. It also features one of my favourite zombies in all of zombie history, and that of Tarman, the gross melting monster man.
Who's there?
Jason Goes to Hell is the 9th and supposed final installment of the Friday the 13th series, and probably one of my favourite of the bunch, which might be a bit of a controversial take. I know a lot of people don't particularly like this one, but I love how weird and different it gets with Jason's lore, turning him for most of the movie into a parasite that leaps across bodies via a gross worm creature. It's got some pretty good kills, and there's a few unintentional laughs here and there, and it's just a really fun time, and they followed it up with 3 other Jason films before he went on seemingly an indefinite hiatus, and hopefully he'll be coming back very soon.
Holy Mother of God.
Speaking of Friday the 13th, In a Violent Nature takes the silent Jason-like murderer and puts the camera right behind him as we follow Johnny on his unstoppable mission to retrieve a locket some dickhead teens take off of his resting place. It's a novel idea for a movie and has some absolutely insane kills, one involving an automatic woodcutter and another turning someone into a human pretzel. When Evil Lurks is another recent film, this time from Argentina, and it finds the inhabitants of a small country town who discover a demonic infection taking root, and it's left to the small group to try and stop it. I love a good demon possession film, and this one really turned the rules upside down, in that there are some new creative ones I've never even heard of, making for a refreshing and really fucked up film. This is one film that actually endangers children all the way throughout it, so be warned. Cabinet of Curiosities is another anthology TV series over on Netflix, presented by Guillermo del Toro, who enlists the likes of directors and writers like David S. Goyer, Catherine Hardwicke, and Panos Cosmatos to deliver several stories that deal with ghosts, aliens, ghouls, and everything in between. Every episode is just a treasure trove of horror concepts, and the wide range of things it covers makes it a refreshing and creative anthology, and I'm really hoping it gets a second season at some point. It definitely deserves one. The Thing is just another all-time classic and my favorite horror movie of all time, and in my opinion, John Carpenter's best film. It's got brilliant special effects, cast and setting. It just never gets old to me, and it's always a good time, especially when introducing someone new to it, because you get to see their reaction to the dog kennel scene.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The Ugly Stepsister is a Norwegian film that takes the Cinderella fairy tale and shifts perspectives over to Elvira, the titular ugly stepsister, as she tries her best to win the heart of the local Prince Julian. I love the aesthetic the film goes for with this early 1800s set design. Everything feels so cold and rough and really uncomfortable, and the film isn't afraid to get extremely gross, especially when a tapeworm gets introduced to the plot.
The Prowler. If he wants you, he'll get you.
The Prowler is an early slasher film from Joseph Zito, the man who would go on to direct Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, and Invasion USA. It's a pretty bog-stock slasher with a very obvious plot and very obvious killer, but it has one of the most terrifying kills I have ever seen in a slasher, and that's thanks to Tom Savini's wonderful effects work. It's just so fucking scary, this one kill, and has stuck with me after all of these years. It's definitely one of those staple horror films that I think everyone who's interested in horror should see at least once. Candyman is another cult classic, and first of Clive Barker's stories to be on this list. Bernard Rose's original Candyman film from 1992 is just a masterclass in tension ramping and lore building. I watched it again recently, and I don't know how he did it, but Bernard's film just has this deeply unsettling vibe to it. It just makes your skin crawl, and the late Tony Todd is just electrifying as the titular Candyman.
Be my victim. Be my victim.
Dario Argento has made some pretty fucking insane films, and Opera is probably my favourite of his. It's a classic Italian giallo and sees a young opera singer become the target of a psycho stalker who begins killing her loved ones in front of her. There's some brilliant shots and even better kills, and a real fun ending that gets a chuckle out of me every time. But maybe don't watch if you're squeamish about things happening to eyeballs or things getting stuck in eyeballs, because there's a lot of that throughout the film.
I want to see your face again!
Night of the Reaper is the most recent film to come out on this list. At the time of recording, it's only about a week old, but it's a really fantastic modern slasher set during the 1980s. It takes the classic slasher tropes and turns them all on its head, leading to some twists and turns I didn't see coming until very late in the film.
Can't believe you got him into this. The fuck does he want?
The Black Phone is a movie I'm kind of very late to. I only saw this one just a few weeks ago for the first time, but I really enjoyed it. The movie sees a boy named Finney kidnapped by the Grabber, a masked killer, but with some supernatural help, Finney might be able to escape the killer with his life. Ethan Hawke's sadistic killer, the Grabber, is a very fun modern horror villain, and with a sequel coming out in just a few weeks, I'm looking forward to seeing how their story continues. The Dream Warriors, the third installment in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, is tied along with the second film as my favourite, but 3 is where I think this franchise really hits its stride. It's got some killer practical effects, some gory kills, and of course Robert Englund's scary yet oddly funny Freddy Krueger. Also, it has Dokken given it a theme song, which is always a win in my book.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch!
So this one's a little cheating since it's technically 2 films, but VHS 85 and VHS 94 are probably both my favourites of the VHS found footage anthology series, and that says something because I quite like all of them. They all have their own merits. Between these two, we get a good smattering of demon possessions, zombies, aliens, ghosts, and weird monsters across several short films, with the highlights being Storm Drain by Chloe Okuno and The Subject by Timo Giajanto. Cuckoo is a film I stumbled upon one day while browsing Netflix, and boy was I glad I did. The film stars Hunter Schafer as a girl who has moved with her father, stepmother and half-sister to a resort town in the Bavarian Alps run by Dan Stevens, and weird shit begins happening almost immediately, and it leads to a crazy fucking reveal which I'm not gonna spoil here, but things get insanely gory and insanely wacky in the best way possible. Hellraiser 2 Hellbound is another Clive Barker penned romp, and I like the sequel a little bit more than the original, only by a hair though, thanks to exploration of hell, the cool new Cenobites we get to witness be birthed towards the end of the film, and as well as the brief dive into Pinhead's origin and backstory. Also, I just love how really gross and wet all of the special effects look in this one too. I recently got it on 4K, and I don't know how they've done it, but for some reason it just looks so like gooey and wet on that 4K. It's just really icky stuff, and I really like that. Zombie is Lucio Fulci's horror classic that's also kind of a sequel to George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, but it's also not a sequel and it's its own thing, but it was only called Zombie 2 because Dawn of the Dead, released in Italy, is Zombie 1. It's a little bit confusing, but what's not is the gore, scares and tension Fulci injects into the movie about a woman who, along with a reporter, goes in search for her father, their journey leading them to a zombie-infested island. This movie has everything I love about a zombie film. It's cool effects, silly character choices, a killer synth score by Fabio Frizzi, and of course the brutal kills, especially when it comes to poking out eyeballs. There's a lot of that in this list, I'm now realizing. For October 26, I have Trick or Treat, and at this point, Michael Dougherty's horror anthology from 2007 is a must-watch during the spooky season. It's a fun set of interconnected stories centered around a small town and its various lore and secrets. It's got a fantastic cast as well, with Brian Cox, Dylan Baker, Anna Paquin, and Leslie Bibb. There's been rumblings of a sequel for years, and hopefully we get to see it because I don't think we get enough horror anthology. October 27 is City of the Living Dead, and this is yet another Lucio Fulci movie, and probably my favourite of his. It's kind of tied up there with Zombie. A reporter, again, and a psychic try and prevent the apocalypse after a priest commits suicide, but nothing goes as planned, leading to zombies, strange monsters, and loads of gore. This and Zombie actually make a really neat little double feature if you're in the mood. October 28 is The First Omen. This is a prequel to Richard Donner's 1976 film The Omen, which follows an American nun sent to work at a Catholic orphanage in Rome, where she uncovers a conspiracy about the birth of the Antichrist. This one surprised the hell out of me with just how steeped in 70s horror it went. It wasn't your classic modern day prequel where it does all the modern day horror tropes. It actually pulls a lot from the 1976 Omen in terms of ratcheting up tension and just how it presents its horror. It also has a really fantastic opening with Charles Dance's character getting crushed by a giant pane of glass. Prequels can be hard to pull off, but I think First Omen is a great companion piece to the original film. October 29 is Bride of Reanimator. The sequels to Stuart Gordon's 1985 movie Reanimator vary wildly in execution and quality, but the direct 1990 sequel is just as good as the first, maybe even better, with some truly insane practical effects thanks to Screaming Mad George. Herbert West's new round of experiments trying to bring the dead back to life is a fun ride beginning to end, and it has one hell of a third act. October 30th is The Prince of Darkness, and this is my last John Carpenter film here, and one of my favorites of his, and I get why people don't like this. It's not a lot of people's cup of tea, and I totally get why, but the small contained cast, the tense, trapped feeling throughout the film, and of course the shadowy, rather vague threat of maybe it's the devil, maybe it's something from a different dimension, is just a winning combo for me. It's got some really fantastic kills. I love as well, it has some of the first found footage stuff in film, with these great sort of future looks into what's happening in the church as these characters go through all of this terrible stuff. This is also the second part in what Carpenter calls his Apocalypse trilogy, with The Thing being first, this being second, and In the Mouth of Madness being the third, and watching them all together is just a fantastic time. So for the final film on this list, I have chosen Skinamarink, an experimental found footage film. It follows a young brother and sister who wake in the night to discover their father is missing from their home, and all the doors, windows, and various other items from around the house are seemingly gone, leaving them trapped in a familiar yet very unsettling void. Lots of people really do not like this film. I know a lot of people that don't, and that's really because of the very unstructured and unclear nature of what really is going on if you aren't paying full attention. But the film just oozes atmosphere and dread, and it, has everything that I think everyone has experienced one time. That moment of like when you wake up from a nap or like just sleeping and you're slightly dazed. It's like the film is that for 80 minutes, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was hooked from the moment it started, and it ends up being a film I revisit quite often. And there you have it. There's 31 horror movie and TV series that you can sink your teeth into this spooky season. Tell me in the comment section what you're going to be watching this Halloween. What's your favorite Halloween film to watch over the spooky season? Until next time, I'm Matt, and I wish you a happy Halloween.